Thank you for tuning in to the only station giving you double the information and inspiration. WDRB Media and WGIV, the soul of Charlotte. This is Marriage Matters, and I'm your host, the Marriage Coach. Make sure you tune in every Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. for tips and advice on all matters of marriage. Be sure to like us on Facebook by searching for Marriage Matters so that you can stay abreast of topics, ask questions, or comments during our interactive segment of Marriage Matters. Also, be sure to check out our website at www.ittakes2marriagecoaching.com for more information on our services. Our show sponsor for today's show is S. Hyatt Photography, serving the Lexington, Kentucky, and surrounding areas. Contact Sid Gentry by going to her website at www.shayatphotography.com. Also, find her on Facebook by searching for Photography by S. Hyatt or call 859-552-3261. Now through December 31st, all portrait sessions booked will be $100. This includes a 45-minute session on location with a disc with up to 20 images. This is a great opportunity to get updated family photos or to capture those special milestone memories. Now, today I am so excited because in the studio with me today I've got a very special couple. This couple is precious to me for many reasons, but because although I met them through their attendance at one of our marriage retreats in the past, actually Valentine's last year, I believe it was, they are an inspiration to Marisa and I and to many other couples out there. And the more I think about it, the way that we met, the fact that they ended up coming to one of our marriage retreats, I know that that they have an understanding that marriage is not a destination, but that it's a journey. And so, although they've been married for 25 years, I love that, they still do things that strengthen their marriage and still look at ways to tweak, work, and get things correct in their marriage, because there's never a point where we reach, the pinnacle that just says, ding, now I'm at the perfect marriage and, life is going to be great from this point on. We know that it is a continuous journey that we go through in this marriage life. So this couple has been married for 25 years, and I want to make sure I have it right. Is it 2 children?
Yes.
2 children.
And 1 grandchild.
And and 1 grandbaby. And so, no doubt they've gone through tons of valleys, but many more mountaintops. And so, please welcome to our show today, Calvin and Deborah.
Hey.
Hello.
Tell us, if you don't mind, if you could just introduce yourselves, share what you so choose to, just about your immediate family. But I want to give our listeners an idea of who they are listening to today.
My name is Calvin Johnson. My wife and I, Deborah, we've been married 25 consecutive years.
I love that consecutive,
yes.
Mind you, because I think that's wonderful. Yeah. So no breakups in there, no separations.
Some hiccups, no breakups.
Amen to that. Okay.
We have 2 children and a new granddaughter. She was born in August of this year.
Oh, so how sweet!
She lives an hour and a half away, but.
Okay, now do y'all prefer to be called like Granny and Granddad? What's your name?
I'm Grandma and he's Papa.
I don't have no problem with Grandpa. A lot of people, think it's about the being old and hey, it's a joy to have grandkids, so they can call me whatever they want. You know what I mean?
Okay, so you're pretty much okay with Grandpa.
Yep.
And you're Glam, like Glam?
That is correct.
Ma?
Yes.
I love that.
Yes.
Okay,
that's my Grandma girl.
It's all over the house.
Okay. So she's your first grandbaby, right?
She is.
Okay, and only grandbaby right now. So I'm sure she's spoiled rotten.
She is.
But I'm sure you all are enjoying the new journey of being grandparents.
Loving her.
Yeah. How were the holidays?
Holidays were good. Quiet with a few family and friends. So that went very well.
Okay. Now, last week on our show, we were talking about family traditions and, just things that we do during the holiday time with our families. Do you all have any particular tradition that maybe?
We just eat.
You do? Okay. I'm game for
we
that.
We have friends, and our house is usually the gathering house.
Okay.
We just eat.
Okay. So all your friends come over to the house usually during the holiday time?
Our family and friends, yes.
Okay.
We do that and watch movies and sing.
Have a little church at times.
Yeah. All right now.
We kind of do a little bit of everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, that makes me miss my family. That's so. Now which I've told my listeners before, I'm from Kentucky and been in Charlotte for about almost 11 years. But one of the things my mom's side of the family always did was there was always a church service, like at every. So Maurice had to get used to that because his family is totally not like that. But you can bet if
it's gonna come up somewhere.
You better, somebody gonna be testifying. Somebody might shout on you. Right. I mean, the song's gonna be sung, hand clapping, foot stomping. I think one year we had like a family choir that had been practicing
impersonations.
Yes. Oh yeah, got to do the impersonation. So it was a lot of fun. So it makes me excited to hear that other families, have sort of that same tradition. So we're actually going to take a short break and pay a few bills. And when we come back, we're going to continue our discussion with this amazing couple, Calvin and Deborah. You're listening to Marriage Matters, and I'm your host, the Marriage Coach. You're tuned in to WDRB Media and WGIV, the soul of Charlotte. Husbands, if you could turn back the hands of time, would you propose to your wife again? Wives, if you could go back to that very day, would you still say yes? Have you lost that I still do commitment, or do you need a refresher on how to keep that I still do commitment in your marriage? What better time to recommit to your spouse, rekindle the love, and remember why you fell in love than Valentine's weekend? Join us for our next I Still Do marriage retreat for Valentine's weekend in Georgia. Join us for fun and engaging activities to strengthen every marriage at every stage. Reserve your spot today, as we only take 10 couples at a time. This marriage retreat will sell out. Contact us at 704-449-6542 or contact us via our website at www.ittakes2marriagecoaching.com for more information on our next marriage retreat. Welcome back to WDRB Media and WGIV, the soul of Charlotte, and those streaming live through the free TuneIn radio app. You're listening to Marriage Matters, and I'm your host, the Marriage Coach. If you're just tuning in, I've got in the studio with me today Calvin and Deborah, whom have been married for 25 years. Yes, you heard me correct. 25, and let me make sure I get it right, Calvin. Consecutive years, right? Make sure you tune in every Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. for tips and advice on all matters of marriage. Be sure to like us on Facebook by searching for Marriage Matters-WGIV so that you can stay abreast of topics, ask questions, or comment during our interactive segment of Marriage Matters. Also, be sure to check our website at www.ittakes2, that's the number 2, marriagecoaching.com for more information on our services. All right, so I'm so excited again because I've got Deborah and Calvin in the studio with me today, and I know that you guys have so much that you're going to be able to offer to our couples who are listening, and even to our non-married couples who are listening. And today, I want to take the opportunity to kind of talk about your journey. Right? And I know 25 years, that's a long journey, especially to someone like myself who's only on year 8. I'm like, gosh, 25 years, what will we be like in 25 years? I don't know.
A lot not making it to 8.
But you're right about that. You're right about that. It's a lot of us falling off the bandwagon early, or better yet, jumping off the wagon early. And so that's why, to me, it's just so amazing that you guys have made it to 25. And so I know you all have experienced all kinds of things in 25 years. And I want to start off with the question that I ask all of my couples when I do individual counseling sessions. The first question that I ask my couples is, how did you meet and subsequently fall in love?
Well, we met at a dance.
Okay.
In October 1989, it was called the Kelly Blue Jean Dance. Everybody wears jeans, come to a yearly event gathering. I saw Calvin. Actually, let me back up.
Yeah, I was going to correct you.
I met him at a nightclub called Tony's.
Make it plain.
Back in Connecticut, and we were. I said to him he was there in his uniform. At the time, he was a correction officer.
For COs.
For a CO. Now, what was you? Oh, correction officer.
Yes, he was a correction officer at the time, and he had his uniform on. And I said to him, "Hey, you look like this guy I know." And he said to me, "I don't look like anybody but myself." And I thought to myself, "Wow, he's very conceited." And so that was that. Hadn't seen him anymore. 3 months later, I'm invited to Kelly Blue Jeans dance with one of my friends who happens to be a correction officer, and she and I went. And right before the middle of the dance, he asked me to dance. And the music went out.
The amp overheated.
So we thought, wow.
Right when y'all was getting ready to start dancing.
Yes. So the music wasn't coming back up. And he asked me for his phone number.
Right. And my friend,
or my phone number. And his friend, who was very tipsy at the time, started yelling out his phone number to me.
But she knew.
And so that's how we met, and we went on our first date the next day.
Okay, wait, just 1 second. So I have to say, I am so happy to hear that another couple met at the club. I don't know why I am always halfway embarrassed to say that, because I think what it is people say, "Oh, ain't nothing good at the club. If you didn't meet him at the church house or in the pew and you didn't meet him in prayer service, he probably ain't gonna be no good for you."
Right.
I had good times at the club. I have good times at church. I mean, people say, you don't find people, you can't find good people at the club. I mean, it's the same people that's in the church sometimes.
Well,
they ain't supposed to be there, but
I always say you can meet the right person for you wherever the right person for you is at. That's where you're gonna meet them.
Or whatever.
There you go.
Right.
Because we did meet at the club too. So I had to throw that in. I thought it was really cool. Right. Okay, so you exchange information, you exchange numbers, or his friend gives you his
number. Out the number.
And the kind thing about it, what really let me know Calvin was the one for me, I had dated a variety of people, and I got to the point of tiredness. Okay. And I didn't think, love was gonna really find me. You date kind of here, all around.
Yeah.
And so the next day, normally you're used to, I'm gonna give you a call, and you wait by the phone, and you look at your phone. Back then there weren't cell phones, so you wait for that house phone to ring. You pick it up, and you're wondering, is this phone broke because it's not ringing? He said, "I'll call you tomorrow by 4 p.m. So it's 3:50 on a Sunday afternoon, and the phone rings, and it's a mutual friend that we had no idea knew each other. Called me and said, "Calvin said that he was supposed to call you at 4:00, but he's not going to be in the house, so he went to the store for his mom, I never forget, to get some cornmeal, and he will call you when he gets back." And that blew my mind.
So the friend called you?
To let me know.
Wow.
Yeah.
Was it Johnny?
Johnny. Yeah. So that blew my mind. There was like, wow, there are some real men that will call you, and if they don't keep you waiting. So that's kind of how we met, and went on our first date.
That's how I am.
And we've been there ever since.
I'm not going to call you, I ain't going to call you.
But you told her you was calling her, and you kept your word.
Right.
And so I'm assuming that call led to your first date, that led to you falling in love.
And 9 months later, we were married.
Months. From the
9 months after you met, you married.
Yes, we met October '89, and we were married August '90.
Now that's beautiful. That's beautiful, because now I'll say this. So I know we're in different we're in different generations, as far as our age, and so I remember my parents saying to me, like, you've got to, you got to date him for a long time to make sure he's going to be the right guy. And then even not just that, like, after you date him, then the engagement got to be, because you got to make sure that this is the right guy. You don't want to make any mistakes. Right. And so that's interesting, because it seems like even in my mom's generation as well, people married a lot sooner.
Right.
The process doesn't seem to be what it is today.
However, the difference, if I may interject, in our mom's day, getting married early was sometimes a route out from their parents. It necessarily wasn't love. Yeah. So when you do it in this new century, it's almost like, oh my God, that's too soon. But you can marry somebody for 2 weeks. My parents, prime examples, have met 2 weeks, got married, and they just celebrated their 50th anniversary.
Wow.
Calvin's parents have just celebrated 53 years on the 23rd of this month.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have to be long term if you understand what you want and where your goals are for it.
Yeah.
If you're getting married just to be rescued from mommy or daddy's house, then yeah, you won't last long because you only got married to get out. But if you're
Right.
getting married because it's what you want to do, and even through obstacles, you're going to find your way, you'll stay together.
Yeah, that's a beautiful thing.
Even in the service, that's where you saw a lot of quick marriages. Met somebody 2 weeks, everybody trying to get that extra money, or the girl is trying to get out the house, or thinks she got a good thing going.
Uh-huh.
So, and then next thing you know, the guy's living back in the dorm and the barracks, and it's, because you didn't really take time to know the person.
Yep.
So.
Yep. And I've seen, so I don't see that as much what you all described, but I know what happened. What I see a lot of, what I saw a lot of when I was younger, I remember growing up in the church, was people marrying just because they wanted to have sex.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
And
true.
it was like, I want to do the do,
Mhm.
and I know I ain't supposed to do the do unless I'm married, so I'm just going to get married. And so I saw folks have horrible marriages.
Right.
Both sitting on the pew together. Yeah, you can say you didn't commit fornication, but you're miserable and you're unhappy.
Right.
And I don't see how this marriage is ever going to become, more than what you got into it for.
That's
True.
That's true.
So that's interesting too. Okay, so Calvin, you proposed to Deborah.
Yes.
I take it, right? Okay. And I got to ask that because, I've worked with couples who the opposite. How did you know, or when did you know, or was there a moment? What was if that's a question, what was the deciding factor that made you decide I want Deborah to be my forever
Right.
partner?
Well, when you out there, you're single, you're doing the club scene, you're doing this, doing things as young people do. For me, it kind of got old.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Then when you find somebody, you have to decide then, man, do I want to hold on, or do I want to risk losing? Because a lot of people out there nowadays, they want their cake and eat it too.
Yes.
You know what I mean? That's where they
Yes.
mess up, because while you trying to hold on to the cake and eat some other cake, you may lose the cake. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that's basically what it came down to me was, she was a nice girl, her parents, you learn a lot through people, relatives, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
How they was brought up and stuff like that, and that had a lot to do with it, so it came to the point of, I think I wrote her a poem one time, If She the One.
Wait a minute,
Are you the one?
Well,
the poem was called Are You the One?
yeah.
Do
So,
you remember any parts
I
of
sure
it?
don't.
Deborah, do you remember any parts? I would love to hear it.
I only remember a little bit of it. I think it was basically, are you the one that I can spend the rest of my life with? Are you the one that I can wake up to and find peace? Are you the one? I ask myself that over and over. And my answer is yes, you are the one.
Oh my
All right now.
gosh. Oh. So you are a poetic man as well. Or was that like your first poem you ever wrote?
Yeah, that was, yeah.
Now,
Other than high school, I mean, elementary, learn, was
Do
it
you like
rhythmic
me?
poems and all that?
Uh-huh.
Other than that, no.
so did you write the poem? That was before asking her to marry you, I'm
Right.
assuming, right?
Right.
What did you think, like after you got that poem, like, oh my gosh. this
Well, I
dude's
was
gonna
crying,
ask-
and I kept that poem for a long time too. I think I
Yeah, it was about to
folded it up,
disintegrate.
and the creases and everything, and I kept pulling out my wallet, and then it was holes in the paper, and I was trying to tape it together. So over time, it kind of went away, but I did remember certain parts of it that really, really stood out for me.
Wow.
So,
When you quoted the few little stanzas that you remember, one of the ones that you just said was, "Are you the one that when I wake up I can find peace?" Did I hear? Or when
that I can wake up to.
wake up to and there is peace. So Calvin, I got a question for you. So something else we often hear, and I'm sure you probably heard this as a man. But I talk about marriages and relationship all the time. Like it just seems conversations find me, or maybe that's intentional, in regards to marriages and relationships. And one of the things that I have heard, and it was a particular man who, African American male, and he only dated white women, and he was very stir him to that. You know, he stood by his stance, and he had I remember him having lots of reasons of why he felt that way. And one of the things he said was that black women are not peaceful. And they don't know how to allow a man to, I guess, come home from a day's work or come home from whatever and be at peace in his home. Mm-hmm. And while I totally disagree with that, and I think that it just depends on the woman that you find, because I know white people that are divorced just like black people that are divorced, and you got that on every side. But I just wanted to know if you speak to that for a second, just finding that peace. And I don't know, maybe I don't know if it was this way for you, Miss Deborah, but for me, when I was looking at my list of like things I wanted in a husband, I don't remember considering like a man that would give me peace or a man that would be peaceful. But it seems to be important to men.
Well, let me just say, some of our women have their ways. You know what I mean? Now, with me, let me just give you an example. When I used to was a CEO in Connecticut, and I used to come home, you go through all types of stuff at work, I was kind of glad I had a good distance before I came home because it gave me time to wind down.
Okay.
So I had our daughter was young at the time. We come home, my wife used to start telling me stuff, and I used to tell her, honey, just give me a half hour.
Okay.
Just to relax. And then later on, I ended up getting this fish tank. And what I used to do was when I came home from work, I would sit by the fish tank and I had angelfish and watch the fish because I had read that it lowers your heart rate, it relaxes you.
Really?
And
Okay.
And I tried it one time. I took my pulse before and after, and it lowered it. Just sitting there watching the fish, you know what I mean? So, but, I guess with all races, everybody, you have guys that what people say women act, you have guys act the same way.
Yeah.
So, it's I guess it's all in the person, and I guess if you like it, you keep it, and you can't complain about it after. And that's the thing too. A lot of people don't see the signs beforehand. She was that way when you met her, but you just didn't really. I don't know. I guess it was still new or whatever. Or a lot of times when a relationship is new, you don't say a lot of things. They don't want to hurt the other person's feeling or whatever. But that's how you really get to see somebody once you get them upset. You want to see how they act.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So
because you want to know if you can deal with
right.
that level of whatever comes out of them when
Right.
they're disappointed, when they're angry, when they're hurt.
That's it.
So Miss Deborah, I got a question for you real quick, and I'm like so not even asking y'all the questions I'm supposed to be asking, but I'm just curious. So Calvin spoke on. He said, you all had a young child at the time, and he would say, could you give me 30 minutes when I come in the house? Were you able to give him that 30 minutes, and what did that look like for
Absolutely,
you all?
because I didn't know what that was. Because a lot of stuff is learned.
Yep.
And if I see my dad come in the house and my mom already started with, can you go back out and get this from the grocery store? Or can you empty that trash? You think that's the way to go. So once he said to me, I just need 30 minutes to wind down or an hour, I understood it then that when he gets home from work, I have his food ready and then I let him have his time. And then when he's done, he comes in the room where we watch TV because now he could talk. And I learned it mostly because going to some affairs at the prison, and it would allow the wives or the spouses to know that doing 20 years of corrections is like doing 12 years as an inmate. So you have to allow your spouse or your mate that time to unravel from day to day of being in
a correctional
prison
facility, because that's where you worked, in a prison.
Yes.
Okay. So I know I'm supposed to be the marriage coach, but I'm feeling very much like the client, and you all are the marriage coaches right now. So I want to ask you all a personal question about my marriage that Marisa probably going to kill me for sharing just a tad bit of this, but I want to know, and I bet you there are listeners out there who are listening to what you guys are saying, and they've got questions too, and they're curious, and maybe have been in the boat that we're in. So we have 3 children. 2 are very young, 3 and 5. And then our oldest is 14. She's not as needy necessarily as the younger ones are. I work full-time. Maurice works full-time. We both have pretty chaotic jobs. They keep you going at work. And so we both have the desire to unwind when we get home. Mm-hmm. I get home first before he does. So I'm the one that picks up the kids. Mm-hmm. Then I'm coming in the house, trying to get dinner together, trying to get everything together before Maurice makes it home. So early on in our marriage, this is the part I don't think he would want me to share, but I'm just going to. I'll take the aftermath. Early in our marriage, he would come home and he would go to the bathroom. And granted, he might not even be using the bathroom for this hour, but I know he would be in the bathroom for a whole hour. And for years, when it was just me, him, and Kyla, my oldest, it was okay for me because I was a single mom before I met him. We were a blended family, so Kyla was, she's biologically mine, and not his necessarily biologically.
Right.
So I was already used to dealing with Kyla by myself, so it was no big deal that he would go for an hour and then come out and then whatever the day begins. But then when we had the younger two, life got crazy. I wasn't used to being a mom of 3 children. It was difficult for me.
It's
It
a
was
lot.
difficult for both of us, really. And so that 1 hour bathroom break started to cause some friction in the marriage. I'm like, Maurice, you cannot. I don't get to come home and go sit in my room for an hour before I come out and deal with our babies. Like, why do you get to? Like, this is not fair. And I still to this day, I kind of struggle with that. And I'm just curious, what advice would you all give to someone like me who's in my boat, that's got little ones? Both parents are working full time. We both are drained when we come home. We both want to have a break, but it seems to be unfair if only one of us gets that break and the other one's got to push through and then get no break until they go to bed. I know that's a loaded question.
I would chime in right here and say that if you and Maurice came to a compromising situation, if it's 2 little ones that need the help because Kyla is bigger, and then I would include Kyla in that process of getting wind down too.
Okay.
During the day, once you get home, by giving her some instructions like, hey, Kyla, wash your hands and you start this for mom. As you go get the 2 little ones settled or at the table for homework, then when Maurice comes in, hey, honey, this is what I've done. And sometimes it sounds like scripted, it sounds Hollywood, but it can happen.
Yeah.
If you let him know, communication is always key. You let him know, honey, this is not working. It's too much for me. And then he can come home and say, this is what you've done. Okay, show me what you've done already and then what you need me to do.
Yeah.
And then we both go to bathroom together.
Okay.
So that really works if you compromise that together. It's not
Yeah.
going to work if you don't tell them. You might be feeling, oh, just not working. But you got to let them know it's not working. And then you have to give more responsibility to Kyla. Yes, they're not her kids.
Right.
We know that. But that's what happened with us. When my daughter got older, you peel the potatoes. Mom, you get the grease started. Shavonna, you go start your homework.
Gotcha.
And
That's
then get
good
them
stuff.
in bed early so you and him both can wind down together.
Yeah, but it's also too. Maurice has to see too. You know what I mean? Hey, I'll be back, honey. Could you start such and such with the kids and go to the store and go for an hour? And he'll see what it's like.
Yeah.
You shouldn't have to really put the weight on the older daughter, though there is some responsibility, but he should also have to see what it's like with the struggle with the kids as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's good.
Because I kept my kids during the day because daycare was expensive back then. I know it's crazy now. I kept my kids till 2:30. I met my mother at her job, gave them to them. Then I went on to work. I worked second shift. Deb worked first shift. So I cooked a lot of times before I went to work. You know what I mean? So I had kind of had a long day as well.
Yeah. And that's good. And so one of the things we had, and I know we got to wrap up because we're almost at our time, but one of the things, his hour bathroom break has stopped. So he realized that wasn't going to work for long. And so that has stopped. And so he'll come in and he'll jump right into the fire with me. I'll call it the fire.
Great.
He jumps right in the fire with me. But I just wonder sometimes, just how could we work it out where we could both kind of get a breather? Yeah. And I'm just thinking as you all are talking, I love what you said, making sure that I assign everybody a duty. Yeah. Then that kind of alleviates. Sometimes that means Maurice could at least come in and get 10 or 15 minutes if everybody's already, doing something when he gets there before he's got to jump in. So that's great. And I'm hoping that helped another listener out there
who might be
experiencing.
Put those kids in a warm tub. That'll make every kid go to sleep.
You're right about that.
Put
And
a
we
kid
do
in a
those
warm
early.
tub. There you go.
We do bedtime early in the house because we want them to
That's
bed at a decent hour so that Maurice and I can have some adult time.
Right.
But I know we've got to wrap up. I'm really grateful that you all were being willing to be on the show with me today. And we did not really get into some of the other questions that I have for you. So I'm curious, would you be willing to come back next week and continue to talk to me and allow me to ask you some good questions?
Yes, sure.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for agreeing, and thank you to all of our listeners who are tuning in tonight. You have been listening to Marriage Matters, and I'm your host, the Marriage Coach. Continue to tune in every Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. For all matters of marriage. We will see you all next week.